Coming into standing. Taking a little moment here just to get comfortable on your feet while we practice some standing balance. So opening through your shoulders, settle them away from your ears, and grow tall through the crown of your head. So just lengthening that neck, starting to lengthen the whole spine. Gently tucking through the tailbone so you get that low back length. Try not to clench your glutes, just instead engage through your pelvic floor, gently lifting through there. Have a little rock backwards and forwards first through the feet to make sure you feel really well grounded through the whole foot. With soft knees and open hips, create that little space underneath the arches of your feet. Lovely. We're going to try and take it into a one-leg balance. So just transferring the weight across, stay strong on the hip that you've transferred towards to free the other foot up enough so that we can start sliding it forward and back. So your toes point like you're pointing to 12 o'clock on the clock face. Just getting used to feeling all the weight down through the standing leg. Still with the soft knee, the strong hip, your glutes engaged. And then when you're ready, when you're really used to that, you can start using this hip to create the other movements. Okay, so forwards, back, out to the side, do all the numbers on that side of your clock face. Don't forget your backward diagonal, which I really love because it gets that glute med, our neglected glute muscle. And if you try and keep all of that upright posture at the same time, so every movement that you're creating is happening at the hip joint itself. Last couple, your choice of movement direction. But don't forget those backward diagonals. And we'll finish on this side. Good. All right, give them a little step. Make sure the standing leg has recovered, because that's going to be your moving leg now. Okay, so transferring the weight the other way this time. Check you didn't lock the knee out, but strong through the hip, ready to start just pointing forward and back through this other leg. Check in that you're still lovely and tall, open, shoulders are not creeping up to your ears. And then we'll add in, out to the sides, forward diagonal, the backward diagonal, staying lovely and upright, and back. Careful not to overarch into your low back when you take the leg behind you. It doesn't matter which order you do them in. Try and make sure you're not gripping with the toes on your standing leg. Create that tension through your centre to balance you, support you in your one leg stand. Last couple. And then relax. Good. All right, so we're going to come up onto our tiptoes. So you want your feet to be underneath your hips. And we'll just simply rise and lower with control. So we're focusing on those calf muscles, strength to lift your body weight, but your glutes are firing up as well. If you wanted to add weights to your hands, you can. You're going to add the arms so they float up as you come onto your tiptoes. And this is where you can start thinking about that rib cage connection. So as the arms come up, we're getting lots of movement through the shoulders. Shoulder joints, and then they just elevate at the end. But think about your rib cage, so staying nicely connected at the front there to the pelvis. Grab my way to balls. So nothing too heavy, just up to maximum of 1 kilo. It really does challenge you. Not only are you lifting weight through the arms, you're also challenging yourself more outside your centre of gravity by loading. up the hands. Let's just do one more. Good. I'm going to give the legs a little bit of a rest just for a moment because we're going to come into that walking motion next. And we start on tiptoes and then we'll work on one leg at a time. So coming into tiptoes and then lower a heel, back to tiptoes, lower the other heel. And as we bring the arms in, lift just to shoulder height, one arm at a time. So your things to watch out for here are making sure that your pelvis really does just stay nice and level. So it's going up and down, but without tipping from side to side. Okay, let's take it a bit quicker as long as you can maintain that. You can really take it as quick as you like. Getting that switch, switch, switch if you want to. Keep the shoulder tops down and the back of the neck lovely and long. And then we'll slow it again. So you get that little pause at the top. Then you switch. Slow it right down. And we'll finish on tiptoes. Lowering. Good. All right, we'll bring it into a squat next. So working differently through the lower body. Keep the feet hip width apart so that when your knees bend, they come down over those toes, staying hip width apart all the way down the leg. And then back up. So as we deepen it, you stick your bottom out behind you a little bit and then power back up. So don't forget about those little spaces underneath the arches of your feet. Try and maintain those so you don't roll over. It will help you keep your knees going straight over your toes and keeping the weight back in your heels there. It will help as you power back up to really focus in on your glutes. So in breath down, and as you power back up, pressure through your heels, focus on your glutes. In breath, arms lift, out breath, power back. A little curve in your low back as you stick your bottom out behind you is supported by your centre being engaged. So your lowest tummy below the level of your belly button. Consciously think of it as your pelvic floor. That will be enough. If you want to really challenge yourself, you can try coming up onto tiptoes and practicing this on here on tiptoes. Or keep the heels down if you want to keep working as you were. Just for a few more before we bring it to our foot series. Last couple. Good. Hopefully you're starting to feel like you're working hard. So our foot series is our combination where we flow between the two of those. And we'll start in the squat, coming down. And then we'll come up onto tiptoes to power back up and then lower. Keep flowing between them here, lift, push, and then heels down. So when you're here, lifting your heels up, keep the bottom down. Just do one more like that, and then we'll reverse it. Good. Come on to tiptoes first. Keep the shoulders nice and open, float up, with the heels high, lower yourself down into your squat, then press and come up. Bringing the arms in. It should help you with your balance. And push up. You should really feel when you're in that tiptoe position that you're lowering your bottom. Your low tummy is needing to engage to steady you, support you. Good, keep going, a couple more. And make this next one the last. And then rest. Okay, we're going to take it to 100 arms. There is still strength for the lower leg, for the legs rather, because we're going to do it in the squat position to get that lovely lift back against gravity. So the lower you come into the squat, the harder you're going to work on your legs, but also the more you're going to be lifting back against gravity. So try and come down into a nice deep squat. Make sure it's a good one, those knees over the toes, facing under the arches of your feet. Now open up the fronts of your shoulders, lengthen the back of your neck, and your arms are out straight, ready to lift back through the upper arms, using the shoulders to lift those straight arms up to the ceiling. So keep your chin gently tucked like you're holding that peach under your chin. So you're looking at the floor and all the movements happening in the shoulders, with the shoulder blades working their way down your back into your pockets. Now your challenge, if you want it, is to transfer your weight onto one foot so that you're on tiptoes on the other one, or even floating it up if you can balance off the mat. You could do this in a one-leg balance, or rest the toes down if you need to. Keep pulsing back with the arms though. Remember, it's an upper body exercise as well. We're working on the shoulder girdle, the backs of the arms, the triceps. Make sure you have a go on the other foot if you're practicing your balance. Keep pulsing, pulsing, pulsing. Keep the neck long. Low tummy, lovely and engaged. Supporting your position. Stay low in the bent leg. These are our last few. Let's keep going. Pressing back. Breath is steady. Up your nose, out your mouth. Opening up those side ribs. Ready for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Good. Just give those shoulders a lovely roll back. And we'll put the weights down if you have some. Lovely. We'll take the legs out a bit wider. Come into a bend in the knees, hips open, tailbone tucked. And we're just going to take the fingertips up to the temples, or if that's not comfortable with your shoulders, just cross them across your chest. Have a breath in. And out to twist. Breathe in that twist. And then back. Lovely. So if your heart rate is elevated, that's really great. This is an opportunity for it to come back down. Moving on your out breath. Slightly pushing forward through that hip you're twisting towards. Get a bit of counter twist. Breathing into stretch and then coming back. So just one more. And rest. Good. And we'll come down to the mat. So keep your weights handy if you think you might want to use them some more. Head supports as well. Something thin, something a little bit thicker. And we're going to start with our swimming arms. So we want to be in 4-point kneel. If you're using weighted balls, you can just rest your hands on them like this. If you're not, you can rest on the palms or the fists of your hands. Just take a moment finding that good position with the shoulders away from the ears, length through the back of the neck, a neutral spine, so not too much up, not too much dip in it, It's not arched up either. Okay. Have a breath in, engage your pelvic floor, and then out breath and arm forward. In breath back down. Alternating sides. Let's just work with arms on their own first. Focusing on the shoulders so that you keep the shoulder tops away from your ears. The shoulder blades, you're thinking about them working down your back. The resting hand, that shoulder needs to be strong when you lift the other one up. And try not to press down through the tops of your feet, keep them nice and light. So your lower body is working through your pelvic floor and your core group of muscles rather than clinging with the limbs. Lovely. Last one to each side for these arms. Keep looking down between your hands. And then rest. And take your hands to however they're comfortable to rest on the mat, ready to do the legs. And we'll start with just sliding away. So the top of your foot that's contacting with the mat, it just slides back and then in. So you can start by keeping them in contact with the mat until you're ready to start lifting them. But it gives you that sense that we're not lifting the leg up as much as we are pushing it back behind. And then when you're ready, you can take it up, but only as high as hip height if you can make sure you can keep your pelvis level and that doesn't cause it to tip from side to side or for you to end up dipping into that low back. You want to keep the length in your low back. What I don't want to see is this. Yeah? I know I'm exaggerating a lot there, but keep the breath so that you're working on the out breath. In breath back. Out your mouth. In your nose. Last couple. Good. And then have a sit back. And we'll combine the arms and legs in a minute when we come down to our tummies. But for now, just give the wrists a rest. Give them a move around and a stretch. We're going to come back to them for our cat stretches. Okay. So back to that same position we were in, with the shoulders away from your ears again. Have a breath in and then out to tip forward. So now you are creating lots of tilt in your pelvis and dip in your low back while you breathe in. Feel those tummy muscles stretching if you can relax them and take the breath right down there. And then tuck the tailbone under and start drawing the back up towards the ceiling. This is the one to be careful not to push too hard. If you have any bone density issues in your spine. Start moving between the two now, so that you're moving on your out breath, you're breathing in as you stretch. Moving on your out breath again. So you look between your thighs when the back is up towards the ceiling. And you look forward when you're tipping. Keep going for a couple more. And then back to neutral, so that we can come down onto our tummies. So give yourself something to support your forehead on. Keep your weights handy if you want to use them. And we're going to carry on with what we were doing, which was swimming, but now on the tummy. Arms first, so they're overhead, and your forehead is just resting. Draw those shoulder tops away from your ears. Lengthen through your low back so your tailbone is gently tucked, but without clenching your bottom. Try and keep that soft. Pelvic floor engaged. Have a breath in, and then out breath and arm to hover. In breath it back down. And we're going to work on just lifting through the shoulders. Alternate arms on the out breath. Making sure the body doesn't roll from side to side. And that you maintain length in your low back. Consciously trying to keep that pelvic floor switched on, or remind it repeatedly that it's needed. Just this last one. Then rest the arms. Either leave them where they are, or you can rest your head on them while we focus on the legs. And now we really are going to tighten these glutes, where we've been asking to keep them soft. Now we really want them working. So make sure that your feet aren't out too wide. You want them to be in at hip width, no wider. Shoulder tops, keep them just drawn away from your ears. Check in with that length in your low back and have a breath in. And then as you let the breath out, draw your sitting bones towards each other. You are tightening through the glutes. You're really squeezing them, giving them a good clench, and then relax. So just for now, keep the legs down on the mat. And we're just taking attention and focus to those glutes and firing up the whole group of muscles by squeezing them and then relaxing them. Squeeze those glutes, really drawing the sitting bones towards each other. We'll do one more just like that. Out breath, draw them together, squeeze, tighten, and then relax. And hopefully they're good and woken up so that we can work on extending the hip. So on your next out breath, just lift the whole straight leg up off the mat and then lower, one leg at a time. Out breath up, in breath down. See if you can keep the legs straight so that the thigh is what hovers off the mat. But keep length through your low back so you don't dip into it. Be careful not to tilt from side to side or tip from side to side. Pelvis stays lovely and level. And keep going if you can. Brilliant. Bring your head support back in. Just check in, reposition if you need to. So we're going to combine the arm and the leg. One arm, opposite leg, out, breath it up. In, breath down. Alternating sides. Last couple. And then rest. Now the push back. So that next we can come down onto our sides. And we'll start with clam as we often do. So if you do need a support between your knees to keep your knees at hip width, Pop it in there now. That long lower arm, nice narrow base of support. We'll start off at level 2 and then I'll give you a reminder of level 3 for those who want to do it. Okay, so level 2, the ankles are up. Of course, level 1 is leave them down. Heels stay together. That top hip stays forward, long through the side of the waist, and lift and lower. So we're really focusing on getting the hip as open as possible without it rolling back. So you keep it forward towards the mat in front of you. Get that knee high and back, pivoting around the heels, squeezing into the glute at the back there, back pocket area. And if you are working at level 3, bring that bigger support in, straighten the lower leg, rest your top knee on the support. That's your start position, ready to go. And that action through the top hip is the same. Lots of control needed, especially as you lower that knee. So if you need to, pop a hand down. Keep going for a couple more. And then rest. Super. So we're going to stay in this bent knee, sideline position. Just make sure that you've still got length through the waist. Your center's engaged. And we're going to lift this time on the out breath, that leg up to hip height. So the whole leg is lifted up. And we'll do some cycling side kicks. So as you next breathe out, bring the leg forward, straighten it out, and then pull it back. So just want you to try and focus now on stillness through the lower back and pelvis. So all the movement, lots of it, happening at the hip and knee. Opening and stretching, which is lovely to do through the front of the hip, but just making sure it doesn't make you overarch your back. And see if you can manage without that top hand. Keeping the shoulder nice and open, relaxed. Well done. After this one, just one. And then rest down. Okay, we'll have a switch over to the other side. So simply push up and over. Position yourself in your clamp, whichever level you're working at. Ankles down or ankles up. Make sure you've still got a gap. Center engaged, leading from that pelvic floor. Out breath up. And then down. So an out breath for every lift. Lovely. 3 more if you can. Reminder here. Last couple. And rest. Now make sure you have both knees bent now. Ready on your out breath to lift the weight of the leg up. And then out breath forward, straighten and pull back. So bend at the knee, forward at the hip, straighten and pull back. So if you feel a bit of tightness down the front of the thigh when you bend that knee, that's really good because we're getting a lovely dynamic stretch. The muscles that we worked earlier on in the class. It's good to stretch it, definitely. Just make sure that that doesn't then end up pulling your low back out of position. So control the stretch. And only take it to where you can without losing your consistency of position in your low back. Let's go for a last couple. Last one here. And then rest the leg down. All right, and we'll bring it over onto our backs. And do some here. Keep your weights handy still if when we come to do double leg stretch you want to use weights. But we're going to start with one leg stretch. Take your time finding position, so just make sure that the feet are hip distance apart, nice comfortable distance from your bottom. Working our way up, we're now looking for neutral spine through your low back. So if you want to gently have some tip and tilts through your low back, you can just explore your range of movement so that you finish up in your midway position between the two. Good, settle those ribs back. Have a couple of breaths. Whereas you let the breath out, you just sink your ribs to the mat behind you. Feel for your shoulder blades behind that upper back as well. Make sure they're not, your shoulders aren't rounded so that your shoulder blades are around the sides of your rib cage. You want to try and open the fronts of your shoulders so you can feel yourself resting on your shoulder blades. And then lengthen the back of the neck. Have a breath here. And out breath, slide the heel away. Just one, and then in breath it back. So just simply here, our one leg stretch to start with. Getting used to maintaining stillness through the center of the body, so the belly button and pubic bone stay level with each other, and that space behind your low back stays consistent when you open out through the front of the hip. Arms stay nice and light, neck relaxed, where your head is supported. Out breath away, in breath back. And this is where if you want to, after these last couple, we'll reach for the small weights to bring it to a double leg stretch. Where I left mine, the other end. So while you're having a little breather, bring the arms up to this new start position, and next time you let the breath out, the arms come slowly overhead as well. In breath back. So if you feel like you would rather work with arms only for a couple of reps, just to get used to allowing the shoulders to move while keeping the rib cage settled on the mat and connected at the front there. You can do that first and then add the legs in. We're working away to open up the front of the body. Arms and legs. Alternating sides. Controlling the arms, especially if you add weight to them. Good, just one more. And then rest down. And we'll stay here with our one leg stretch, but to take it into a level 2 and then a stretch for the hamstring. So just reposition if you need to, check in. Next, out breath, one leg up into tabletop. Push it away with lovely control and then bring it up straight, but while maintaining that low back position, give it a little press. And then you can take it back down. So it's really slow and controlled. Here, try and out breath away, because this is our one leg stretch too, and then bring it in for that stretch behind the back of the thigh. Bend and down. Away, lovely control needed there, and then here, a little press. This is the one that, when we do it in the studio, we add the resistance band to push away against, which is lovely, and then assist the stretch. If you don't have one at home, then we'll just use the hands. Good. One more. And then bring the feet to the mat. Bring the heels up to your bottom, a little bit closer so we can finish on our backs with some shoulder bridging. Slide your head support away if you can manage without it. And we'll either lift or tip to peel the back up off the mat. Breath in, breath out. This is our straightforward lift. The glutes fire up, pressure through the heels, pelvis is high level, and then come back down. Okay, so if you're doing that straightforward lift, it's an out breath up, an in breath while you hold it, and then out breath back down. And if you're doing the peeling version, if your back is okay with this, first of all, tip back into your low back space, so that pelvic curl, and then continue to peel your spine up and away from the mat, level by level. So you're up on your shoulder blades with those glutes really working. Peel your way back down again, level by level. So use it as an opportunity, if you can, to focus in on your low back, your mid back, and your upper back, any areas of stiffness. Trying to move them segmentally, try to mobilize the spine. You can keep working there with that being your focus, or you can start working into a one leg shoulder bridge. Transferring the weight onto one foot, but keeping the pelvis level so you can straighten out through the knee. Alternating sides, but making sure you come down for a rest if you need to. If you struggle to keep the pelvis up, or you start overworking into the backs of the thighs, we really want to feel like most of the work here in the glutes. Not too much in the low back. So if you push too high and you're feeling it in your low back, just come down a little. Making this one your last. And replacing your back to the mat. And we'll bring a knee in for a hug, sliding the other away. And then change sides. So bring the other one in, give it a hug, slide that one away. Okay, we'll take a 10 onto the side. Let's sit up, however you're comfortable. So on your knees or cross-legged or legs out straight. We'll just finish with a nice chest stretch and try and get that extension to the upper back that we're looking for. So don't forget to engage through your center, even in sitting. Grow really tall and bring the arms up to shoulder height, shoulders themselves down. Breath in. And then out breath. Open up nice and wide. Send the center of your chest up to the ceiling. And then low. A couple more like that. Really focus on that upper back between the shoulder blades area. With your breastbone leading the way. Good, we'll do one more, and this time have a breath in while you're there stretching. So you out breath to get there, center of your chest right up to the ceiling, magneting up while you breathe in. And then lower down again. Well done. All finished.